Hello and welcome back to Cricket Fables. I'm not going to talk about us because you know who we are. The other person on your screen, Mr. Bharat Sundaresan, who's been in Australia for some time now, as he just very yes, Bharat. Sorry, welcome. Let's welcome you first, and then
No,
I'll.
first you have to give the proper introduction
Ma-
of the man who has the best hair in all of Australia, the man who has, who has given us all that we know of the Indian team and all that came out of that Indian camp. We got to know it through Bharat Sundaresan, who was there in Australia, the only Indian journalist. We finally caught hold of you. Have you managed to sort of just relax a bit? What has the morning after been like for you?
Oh, it's been crazy. I've really not slept much through the last 2 months. And especially last night, I just couldn't sleep. Like you get that feeling, right? Yes, such mein hua kya? Did that really happen? Because cricket is such a thing, right? Like Jamie, all of us, yeah, we've become such cynics covering the sport all these years. Whether you're supporting a team or not, you don't believe in fairy tales. Arey, nahi hoga, yaar. I mean, they will like collapse. And like at every step yesterday, I was like, Rohit is out. Okay, now Australia. And this is also Australia, no? And I've been covering them for the last, 18 months. That Leeds, if you just leave that Leeds Ben Stokes freak show out, they find that, like, that they find that guy, that Josh Hazelwood will come and like get 1 wicket, or Cummins, he almost pulled it off yesterday. Or I really thought Nathan Lyon, 100 test, ये romance सब Australia में होता भी है. उसका माँ बाप को they kept showing. Briefly after that, they stopped showing them. So that's how it'll end. But yeah, I don't know. From nowhere, it's looked like draw, and then but that's the beauty of yesterday's play, right? It never looked like India were fighting for survival. India controlled that game, and I think India have, if anything, controlled this series, except few days here and there where Australia have got ahead. Thoda bahut. It's been India's series, and even though there is this whole dreaminess to who they won the final test with, and finally put an end to that idiotic word gabatoir. It's like, nobody can use it anymore. I'm so excited about it, even though I also use it in my preview. But yeah, so it's just like it's been India's series, and yeah, I'm glad they won. It was a privilege being there. I was doing radio commentary. They actually called me into the box, even though it wasn't my stint, and they said that do a Ravi Shastri, literally, like, call the last 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, I went quite emotional. Yeah, I said, like, yeah, be proud to be Indian and all that. So it was quite something, and it's not one off. I've been like bouncing around. It's just, and more than anything, to be at I wasn't in Brisbane, but just to have covered the series and to witness a moment in sport, like regardless of who won, it was one of those special moments, like that Ben Stokes 100 or the World Cup final. It was just so special.
Absolutely, Bharat. The things you've touched upon, the cynic in us, as well as the memories. Like we were talking before we started about the memories of 99 and not so much 92. I think that's a bit of a blur for me. But कि यार अच्छा ठीक है रोहित गया तो अब कुछ होगा ये होगा ना. But that's not happened, and that's sort of been the theme. मतलब you were there at Adelaide, जहाँ पे 36 all out was being called a disaster and whatever words we can throw on. But it was actually just a once in a generation collapse. वो दोबारा नहीं होगा. Or one of the themes is the fact that this team went from there to Melbourne, they won, then that Sydney Great Escape. You were there all these matches. You've seen it far closer than we have. What does it say about this team, the management, the think tank? Matlab, yes, depleted 11. वो सब ठीक है यार. You still have to go out there and perform, and forget perform. They've gone and they've done the unthinkable, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like now, when you look at 36 all out, like you said, it was a freak show. It was as unimaginable as this win, or even the draw with Ashwin-Vihari and Ashwin, like broken bodies. They look like 70-year-olds saving a test match. Yeah, and I'm sure their bodies felt like that. That Adelaide thing was just a crazy, like it. I've never seen a period of play that way, where there are no plays and misses. Everything hits the edge. Everything goes to hand. It was just one of those. I just call it the greatest seam bowling performance ever. That's what you want, right? To bowl and get the edge and get caught. That's what they did. What it tells about India and what they've done since is that the fear of failure is gone. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Ravi Shastri, who gets a lot of flack in the Indian media for some reason. But he's just taken it out, and he's literally told them that in Australia, the world is against you. Whether it is against you or not, he's created this atmosphere within the team where he says anything that happens, he'll be like, this is Australia trying to play mind games with you. So and anyway, they're in a bubble. So they've just gone closer and closer to each other and literally formed a shield around themselves and around their own bodies and around their own minds. So they don't let any negativity seep in. And it's true. You can see that, right? Whatever has happened off the field, they might have whinged a little about, oh, we don't want to go to Brisbane, Sydney, mein, ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai. But on the field, the spirit that they've shown, and eventually it was Australia who gave up. Like India never gave up, right? Never at any point in the series, 36 all out is not giving up. It just happened. They blew you away. But India never ever gave up. And I think that's like the hallmark of this Indian team. And you shudder to think what heights this Indian team will grow to. Because think about it. This is not the future of India. Like the guys who won this game. Yes, Washington, Sundar, Pant and Gill. But they was a ragtag bunch. And this is, I just wrote in my piece, I said, this is not the future, not the past. This is like some random present. It's like a dream 11. Fantasy 11 that just played and won and ended the Gabba streak. So it's incredible like what they've done. And the Pujara innings yesterday for me just summed up the entire tour, right? The whole tour has been what, and like I've gotten sick and tired of talking about it on commentary and listening to others talk about it. Every Australian, Brad Haddin, Ian Healy, they're like, man, every time we think that the fight is over, they just don't stop fighting. Like, what are they made of? What's happening? And yeah, I literally had no answers after a point because even we are not used to it, right? Like, I'm like, अरे मुझे पुजारा को इतना बार बॉल लगा मुझे शर्म आ रहा था कि if I come home and थोड़ा इधर उधर लग गया तो I also was like I'm going to stare at the wall if I just
stare at the corner of the bed or the door. Like how dare you?
How dare you?
But you're talking about some of the Australian experts and how they saw this team. But what we already know what happened in India. But in Australia, what was it like? What did it mean for the Australian public? You're not used to seeing their team lose very often at home, especially in a place like Brisbane. And what has the reaction been like among them? Matlab, the Aussies, they like a good competition and they respect you for it. एक चीज जो शार्दुल ने बोली थी मुझे रवि शास्त्री ने आते ही बोला कि देख if you win in Australia, just you can enact it out for us.
If you perform, each and every one of you will be a winner. You'll be a hero when you go back. These people will salute you. Yeah, and exactly, I've heard him say that many times now.
Oh, exactly. And you're a very good mimic, as I know.
So, that's what I've also been trying to do. I've also been trying to do that to the Australian public.
You can do it, Bharat. You can get through this quarantine. You will get back to Melbourne soon. or you live in Adelaide. Sorry. You will get back to Adelaide soon. But so, you had Shardul talk about it saying, Ravi Bhai told me as soon as we came here, one thing that stayed with me was him saying, you can, if the crowd loves you, if you play well, the crowd will love you and, you will be rewarded. And so that's why I'm asking you, like, what was it like? What is it like now? And what was it like right after the win with the Australian crowd and Australian media and all of that?
Oh, they are in awe of this India. They are really almost concerned that if this is your seventh string doing what they're doing now in terms of the bowling attack anyway, and you talking about all these Shivam Mavis and Nagarkotis, and you're saying this is not even the future. Like, what are they going to do? Like, when will this Indian dominance ever end? Maybe there's some overreaction there. It's just one test series. We'll see what happens against England. But that's the cynic. See, the cynic is coming through again, Jamie.
It's there under the surface.
I think sometimes it's also about not jinxing them. Like, not just let them win. Let them play right now. That's not...
No, I think they're like initially after 36 all out, and understandably so. Everybody thought it's going to be 4-0. Right? It's not just the Australian media or the Australian players or former Australian players. It looked so bad with Kohli leaving, Shami leaving. And then it was crazy, right? Everybody just kept leaving. Umesh Yadav, I remember watching him. He was sitting on a chair at the MCG nets, and you had Siraj and Saini speak to him. I just looked down, like, where the MCG nets is. I said, Umesh Yadav senior bowler hai, yaar. Like, he's sitting down and like they're talking to him with that respect. He's fourth tour, of course, but and then he's also gone. And then you're like, okay, fine. What are you left with? Okay, Bumrah, Ashwin-Vihari put their careers on the line. Fir wo log bhi chala gaya. I really, really, really thought I was this close to making my test debut. I was very close. Like, I'm like, yeah. Ravi knows
Left
one
arm
thing.
quick.
I left arm quick, like with the hair, it would have been, I would have become very famous in Australia.
It was slow-mo.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I think they've just like fallen in love with this Indian team. So 2 years ago when they came here and left, I'll tell you this. All the talk was, where is our Pujara? Like, where is our batsman who will bat time? This time after this Indian team has come and gone, they're like, where is our depth? Like, why aren't we producing cricketers the way India are? And here, like, there's a lot of overreaction to on the Australian side of things because they want heads to roll. They want Tim Payne gone. They want some, but
so that way they are similar to us.
No, of course they are even worse than us at times. Yeah, with cricket. But the thing is, there aren't too many people that they can bring in, and you could see that with that opening thing, right? The Matthew Wade was opening. Matthew Wade, in my opinion, like has run his course. Like, does he even deserve a place in the playing 11? Nahi, usko open kara raha hai, and then he's playing in the middle order. They're actually struggling with their batting resources. Will Pucovski, Cam Green karke एक टेस्ट सीरीज चला लिया उन्होंने, but like they're really stuck. So they're in like when we were growing up, Jamie and Maya, they used to show us highlights of the Sheffield Shield, right, on Star Sports. And I remember the promo so well. It used to be Sheffield Shield, the breeding ground of future champions. And like now the whole thing has changed because I covered the Sheffield Shield, and that too, I'm from South Australia now, so that team doesn't win anything. And I was doing commentary of the Sheffield Shield, and I'm not kidding. At times I was telling myself, hey, ये तो थोड़ा Baroda versus Baroda versus Vidarbha level का है. Like, to an extent it is like that. So it's and Australia now might not even make the World Test Championship. They're see it on Tim Payne's face. He's had a very bad 2021 so far. And I like Tim Payne. Hopefully things work out for him. But to answer your original question, in terms of India, they just can't get enough of India. They're like, oh, we should play 5 tests. They've even started talking about, is this greater than the Ashes? Imagine that happening in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. So is it sort of the elephant in the room we have to address, that this was, in terms of batting, was one of the poorest Australian teams to be put up? Like you said, while it might be their first choice 11, it says, yeah, piche koi hai nahi. To take nothing away from India, because still that Indian, that depleted attack, which even you were like, yeah, ye kya ho gaya? They got 20 wickets at the Gabba and they threw that Gabba to our term. But still, we have to address the fact that inki batting thodi farzi thi to a certain extent.
But not as fuzzy as last time. Like when imagine like take Smith, Warner, and this Manas Labuschagne now. That's the batting lineup they had 2 years ago. So this was definitely better than last time around. At least Smith and Manas found their form, and Manas scored a lot of runs like eventually. And Smith was good in the last, this third and fourth test. And David Warner was just about coming into form. So I don't think you can take anything away from this Indian. Maybe 2 years ago, you could have said, maybe. But now they've come and beaten an Australian team with Smith, with Warner, with Manas, like who wasn't the Manas he is now 2 years ago.
Correct.
And your gun bowling attack, sab log the. All 4 test matches, see, in 2003, 4 and all, you remember those tours. McGrath will get injured or Vaughan will get injured. Brad Hogg will be the key spinner. And like,
Brad Williams.
Or Brad Williams will come and bowl a random 30 overs for some 150 runs. So this is like a proper Australian attack. Like, it had Cummins, it had Hazelwood, it had Stark, it had Lyon. And the fact that I think where Australia have really lost it to India is Lyon. India have just eliminated him, taken him out of the equation. 6 test matches, he's taken 13 wickets since that Perth win. So by taking Lyon out, and he wins more matches for Australia in Australia than even the fast bowlers. So that is one of the key factors in this series.
चलो ऑस्ट्रेलिया को छोड़ते हैं, इंडिया की बात करते हैं. What was your favorite moment of the series? This is probably the most difficult question right now for anyone to answer because there have been so many moments. But for you, what stands out? One moment, if you had to pick.
I'll tell you what stands out. It was that Ashwin-Vihari partnership, and I saw something that I had never seen before. where Ashwin didn't want to wear his chest pad like when he was facing the spinner, and then he was tucking it behind his pants. Then the umpires and the Australians went after them and said, "No, no, you're wasting time." So it was the most romantic thing I've ever seen on a cricket field, where at the end of each over, Ashwin would take the chest guard out from his back, hand it to Vihari. Vihari would stick it in his, and like I said, they were like 70-year-olds, and they would like limp their way to the non-striker's end. And the fact that those two managed to survive for 3.5 hours. Yes, they did not have to run. Yes, they just had to dead bat it. Okay, the pitch did not have any demons. But the fact that I think more than the Gabba win, more than even the Melbourne win, for me, that really stands up. That is when you saw how tough this Indian team is. And more than Ashwin-Vihari, he might, you never know, he might have put his test career on the line. Because he's injured now. He's not in the squad for the England series, if I'm not mistaken, because he's injured.
Yep.
Yeah,
Some kid comes in, makes 300, 200. He might never play again. He's in that late 20 wala range. That boy put his career on the line, and you have to salute him. And for me, that was like one solid moment. But another cute moment I have to talk about yesterday when Pujara was being like hit on the body, like, ball sar pe, isme, and then one tiny floaty butterfly just flies past him, and that distracted him of all things. I mean, if you ever wanted to know what Pujara is, that was the moment for me.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely superb. Yeah, and also I just want to pick your brains because you've had that vantage point which we haven't had. You mentioned seeing things like Umesh. I know you put out a lot of clips on the nets that when Pant Pujji, I'm back and all these things, right? Despite seeing the struggles, you would have seen things. You said, "Yeah, is team mein kuch extra hai," right? Because I know you and your former colleagues at the Express did the kind of attention you guys give to watching Indian teams in the nets. I think this comes largely from Sandy Bai. You guys have that extra, detail.
Yeah, like
you
there was
applied
one
that
detail
here.
you I think tweeted about Mayank Agarwal and how Ravi Shastri was working on his technique, especially after and yeah, go ahead.
But I'm saying, so from all those tours, all the home series, all the time, what was different about watching this different team in the nets up close? Aspas, they were not, us guys weren't there. The other 45 Indian journalists weren't there. It was just you in a very different space, which I know you probably liked. But what did you see? What did you see differently?
Yeah, firstly, like for all you, if whoever's watching here, if you are an editor of a newspaper website, you don't need to send anyone. I'm here. Don't worry. Don't send anyone. But there was, see, again, going back to Ravi Shastri, the involvement that he has with each one of them, like Prithvi Shaw, he played the first test and he did not play, but the amount of time they would spend with Prithvi Shaw, not just Ravi Shastri, Vikram Rathore, they would like video tape some of his sessions and they would spend time with him on the side net. Mayank Agarwal is a great example because he's such a fussy character and he frets so much about his technique. Ravi Shastri and Bharat Arun, they would just let him do what he wants to do. And at one point, I remember he walked into the nets, Ravi, at the MCG, and he said, "Hey, abhi sochna ban, abhi khelna shuru." Like, like soch mat, abhi khel. Like, stuff like that. And the toughness came through even in the nets. Like Rishabh Pant, I was never the biggest Rishabh Pant I wouldn't say fan, like we're not fans. To use a pro wrestling term, Jamie, I was never a Rishabh Pant mark. Like, I never got him. Then I saw one net at the SCG on the fourth evening. That's another like moment that will stay with me for a long time about the series. I just saw from the corner of my eye, he was sneaking into the nets. It was around 5 p.m. Rohit and Gill were batting. So I just went to like see kya ho raha hai. And it was actually a very cute like setting. I couldn't write about the whole thing because it would have meant writing about myself. So I was standing behind the nets. It was Rishabh Pant, two throwdown guys. The Sri Lankan who now speaks Tamil, by the way. No, not Tamil, but Hindi, by the way. And Nitin Patel, the physio. And the match is still going on. So Rishabh Pant is like battling through the pain. Like, he's constantly chatting with Nitin Patel. But every time there would be a noise from the stadium, they would want to know kya hua because the match is on, right? So they would look at me, and then where I was standing, there was a TV behind. So I would look at what has happened, and then I would signal 4, or I would signal like 2 runs. And like if I signal like 6 runs, I said, Kon, Rohit Bhaiya. I said, ha, Rohit Bhaiya, 6. So I was like, it's a bizarre role that I've put myself in. But like, yeah. And as that net session progressed, I remember you could see he was in pain. And at one point, this is when Rishabh Pant really won me over. I wanted to hug him, end the bubble, end the tour at that point. But like, he's batting and he's like just looking down and he's telling himself, chal chal tujhe kuch nahi hua, chal chal tujhe kuch nahi hua. And like, you know,
Ah,
yeah, he was like trying to talk the pain away, and like it's like he was mothering himself, and I found it like so cute, like, you know. And I was really hoping, and from a journalistic point of view, you see all this and then you hope he does something right. So next day, once he made 30, I was like, ho gaya, chalo
my
laptop.
article's ready.
Super.
I've got my headline.
Yeah, and then he went on to make 97, and yeah, so you can see, yeah, it's a very different Indian team. It's and everybody seems to be like gelling, in the sense they're all on the same wavelength. I know you will hear about Virat and Rohit and all that. I don't know, they weren't in the same space, so I can't tell you, sorry. So but even when Kohli was around during the one day stuff, what really stood out was the amount of time he put in, like to spend time with like Mayank. I remember writing a piece about the, like, he spent one whole session just working on something with Mayank, like, you know, the front foot, whatever it's called, like the kya bolte hai usko? The front foot press, like, you know. So he was explaining why he should do it, and it was great. And then he would take the side arm, or I've become too Australian and I almost called it the wanga, but like, yeah, he takes the side arm.
It's okay, you're allowed to.
Yeah,
No, no,
well, you're there for 3 years now.
I know,
You're
I know,
all
I know.
now.
I'll try to unlearn things at times. Like, so he's using the side. He was using the sidearm, and even he was so involved. So it's like there's no longer seems to be a hierarchy, in the sense, अरे ये captain है, ये coach है, तो ये वो करेगा, वो करेगा. Everybody seems to be helping everybody out, which I thought stood out.
Just now, a very important question then. The choice of shirts.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Through the
no.
series on Melinda Farrell's channel. Fantastic. And which also brings us to talking about the channel, guys. If you haven't already followed Melinda Farrell, brilliant channel. She and Bharat have been putting out great stories and reviews of the match, interviews of the whole series. So please go check it out. That's the channel to go to. I think you guys are going to be putting something out today as well, right, Bharat?
Yeah. Right after this, I'm going to meet her and like record something.
Yeah, so you can also send them questions on their Twitter account. But for the good, bad, and the ridiculous, I've been watching you guys. You were fantastic through the series. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm just saying one last thing before we let Bharat get back to work. He said that वो जब से Australia shift हुए, तो India 2 बार वहाँ जीती है. तो well done for channeling some positivity. इतने साल हो गए थे Indian team वहाँ कभी जीत नहीं पाई series, but you just rock up there and then, you know. So I'm sure there's a special. There should be some plaque up there in some ground. Okay, Bharat was here type.
But जरूरत ही नहीं है ना यहाँ पे. Every time India play, they have this Bharat army guys walking around. So they asked me on commentary the other day. I think it was Brad Haddon and someone else. They were like, mate, we just saw, like, you know, Bharat army. It's like, yeah. So I have a country named after. You guys know what it is like to have a country named after. Yeah. So I have my own army. I mean, I have nothing to do with them. Yeah.
Superb.
Thank you so much, Bharat, for taking the time out and joining us. I know you must be exhausted after this long series. You were covering it for what, 2 months? Going here and everywhere.
Dying to get home also. We hope you get home soon enough here.
I know. I have to I have my car here, so I have to drive back. So I've been just driving everywhere to escape borders. So finally, so which also means Isha does not have a car. So I am in for some trouble whenever I go home. So no, thank you for and sorry I couldn't make it earlier. I have been.
नहीं. आप आए. मजा आया हमें. Thank you, Bharat Sundaresan. Please be well.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. All the best for the future.
Thank you.